Yes, I want to get the ball rolling. Okay, ahead. You go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's another Friday, and here we are. And it's a busy time of year. School's up and running. Things are going crazy. Sessions around the corner. Meetings are happening. Lots of information is being shared. We're getting feedback, good, about the impact and interest and conversations that are starting because of this, and that's pretty exciting. Um, what we'll do today is we're kind of having more people join in is I kind of just wanted to talk for a minute about the power of truth. And that one of the most important things that we have to do is tell the truth of the significance of the need. And sometimes emotionally we may brush over it, like the Titanic. It was never going to sink, so we never talked about it or planned for it to sink, and damn it, it sank. So the same thing can be true about our own situations with behaviors or medical crises or monitoring or communication or a myriad of developmental disability expressed needs. And so it's really important that within the system that is sometimes intended to help, but kind of designed to say no, and we find ourselves kind of in that setting more often than not, I just want to continue to encourage what we're seeing through these stories. You're not buttering it up. You're telling the truth. You're not telling more than it. You're not exaggerating, but you're not lying either. And that is so powerful, that when it really comes down to it, medical necessity documented for the health and safety is the trigger that drives the identification of need, and then the identification of services, and God willing, even the funding of them. So this project here of introducing people, making that relationship with your family. Remember, your legislators, your family, and you got a family member that has a very important role in helping with the world of developmental disabilities, but they need your help to know and understand what it's like.
Hey,
So,
Tom,
yeah.
can you back up just a little bit because we have a bunch of new people. What are we doing here? Like, start from the very beginning, just to recap real quick.
Welcome for all those that have just arrived, and I thank you for putting me back on track. This is a project of we the people, for the people, for all the people, that is really particularly focused on families and individuals with developmental disabilities across the spectrum of those that have been served and are being served, those that are waiting, those that are in the process, those that are being underserved, those that are doing quite well, and that it's made a world of difference. And the purpose of this project is to tell your story, create an emotional in a relationship. And what we've been focusing on is your local legislator, your local senator, your local legislative delegation meetings, and having a way to communicate your story about the need, positive impacts, the frustrations, along with solutions. So in this project, there are now, and Stephanie will be able to show you some of those maybe, some of the flyers, or kind of like almost like a business card that's used to kind of meet your legislator, and some supporting documents to be able to help them come up with some solutions. So when I started to talk about at the beginning here, the truth, that's what we're really talking about, is don't butter it up, don't exceed it. But if you look somebody in the eye and you tell them the genuine truth, if you have a child that is violent, talk about it. If you have a child that has medical crises and needs interventions and needs to be monitored, and they don't really understand what 24 hours a day, 7 days a week really means, tell them about it. Because those stories, those truths are a part of the world that they don't understand because they don't experience it. How you tell them the story so they can actually hear you is part of the tools that we try to help promote. Of here's a flyer that puts a face with a name, that puts some cool things about that person in it, and gives you a venue to be able to kind of state some of the issues, needs, or things that you want to communicate. And so we have a variety of these story forms that you can see that have been posted down there in the chat that are an excellent vehicle for putting a face with a name, creating a local family member relationship with your legislator. Because the truth is, as I've said over and over, imagine you have a family member that is responsible for programs that can be very helpful to you and your family, but they really don't know a lot about it. Don't you think it'd be really good to sit down with that family member and help them understand? Because not only that family member need to know about it, they're involved with how much money is available to actually make this happen. So we want to educate them about what the needs are. If you're being served, what an impact it has made. That it's not all just problems and complaints, because there's a lot of money in this thing. And there's a lot of investment in a lot of years. And so those that have been around need to share how it changed the course of your family's direction, how it made you be able to keep your home, how it made you to keep your mental health, how it was able to have changes in the families that are impactful. So that's kind of the basis of it. Is that kind of what you wanted me to kind of cover this stuff?
I did, and I wanted to kind of like add in on that. When I was starting my journey down the crisis application, I remember being extremely triggered by Tom telling me you need to tell the truth. Because in my world, I'm used to, but they can't handle the truth. I don't like, sometimes my kids do violent things and I don't want anything to happen to them. And that was incredibly liberating for me to realize, oh, wait, that's what this program is for. It's for to support those needs, to kind of alleviate and give them access to home and community. But I've heard from a lot of families, like, I don't want to say, I don't know what to say. I don't want to say too much. And the truth with this is there is no too much if it's your truth. And that's exactly what this is designed to do. So I just wanted to add in on that.
But you also know that it's the truth backed up with medical documentation,
right,
assessments, evaluations, letters of medical necessity, and all the paperwork where the folks that have the initials at the end of their names, you have the experience, you may have the knowledge, they may have the credentials, and may also have additional knowledge. And getting that document, get it in writing, because if it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
Hot rods. Just perk. So I totally lost it. You just had it.
You're sitting outside a restaurant.
Oh, yeah. So I'm sitting outside it. I did something different but similar today. One of the things that has happened in me learning how to talk local is I've been talking with my local school board. We had a school board meeting this week, and it was really wonderful. After a year and a half of going to every single meeting, and just communicating with them my needs as my children's needs. At the last meeting, our school board member used me as an example that like doesn't happen, and said, it's so much easier to work when we work together. And I was talking about cameras in the classroom, which is not something that Florida has yet. So that's a stretching thing for them to even entertain. And it was so nice to hear just the feedback of they're not shutting me down because I continue to collaborate with them, and like other families in our school district, like this is like the tiny version of what we're talking about, have all reported in today on that subject on how that's been successful. So telling our story is universal. Who we tell our story to is really important. If I were to go up to the school board meeting and talk about Logan's accident looking for their help with APD services, it wouldn't make sense. But our legislators are the ones who have the ability to help our families. And I found that they want to, they just haven't been given the tools. I think that this is the opportunity, like to say, what is this? Can you explain why this is happening? And have a dialogue with them, which is what I've been doing with my local legislators. And it's been really cool to all of a sudden, all after like a year and a half of doing this with them, for them to call me up and say, hey, I'm going to go talk to Tallahassee and the healthcare policy about the ideas and suggestions you had. I'll ring back you next week. I want to be a resource. I know that there is a lot of stuff we need to work on with this program, and that my kids are, we got some time. So it's wonderful to have that relationship and it be collaborative.
And there's also the concept of constituent services, in that these elected officials were there to serve their constituents, their family. And so the constituent services sometimes can be things like, well, let me inquire as to the status of that. Let me find out if that's correct. And sometimes phone calls get made, and that can be very helpful in raising the awareness of a situation that may have gotten bogged down in the quagmire. And so the constituent services is, how can I help you? Our services to them is, how can I educate you? How can I help you? Let me teach you. Let me be a resource. And that is very powerful, because those relationships end up being talked about amongst themselves. Wow, I had this family I met today. I talked to this person. Oh my gosh. And that's where the impact is. Now, are we going to expect miracles? No, but I'm going to try for them. I mean, that's the best we can do. Is I'm going to, hope for the best, plan for the worst, and give it every bit of effort I've got. And part of that has to do with getting some stories back from anybody on this today that has got a news story they'd like to share about how maybe they're starting to get some impact from what's going on here. Anybody? You can raise your hand in the little Q thing there, and we'll get to you on that. What else you got, Steph?
Well, so speaking of the stories, I do want to say that these stories are all being passed around in our delegation meetings. So I know that a lot of people have filled out the form, submitted your story. I send it back to you. It gives you a tool to go to your local legislator. I had a couple parents this week say, hey, I'm going to be real honest. I can't leave the house because I am in a crisis and don't have support. So there's no possible way I'm getting to my legislators. And that is completely, you're talking to the right people. So if you aren't able to go to meet with your legislators, please still fill out the information so that we can help you. I want as many different dynamics, disabilities, ages, situations to go to our legislators, because it speaks the story as a whole. There's growth we need to do. And it's not just the waiting list, right? It's what happens on the other side. What happens? What's a crisis look like? Does a crisis take 45 days? My crisis took 2 seconds, and it was immediate need for the Calvary, which took my family 385 days. that's a very specific to like, it doesn't, that's very specific to my story, but there's so many families that relate to this. Or Amanda, who said, I'm a good mom. I love my kids. I'm not gonna Baker rack them. Uh, like, how can I get denied because I didn't do those things? Right?
Yep. And
Yep.
it's not even in the statute that that's a requirement. That's the thing that gets me. Sorry. I could get on a soapbox all day about this.
But it's about telling the truth, and it's
About
about
telling-
really real life stories about how systems could work better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in the hopes here, I mean, I still believe, and we still believe, I hope that we, the people for the people, can make this better. And that we're here to do that. And that this is the why we're here. The freedoms that we have is to be able to make and change and improve and have input and have a voice. And we're just trying to use it more and more. So what other stories you got, Steph?
One of my favorite stories for this week was there's a brand new mom. She popped in our Facebook and said, hey, anybody in Flagler County? And a bunch of people said, oh, hey. And she is it was at 3:00, but at the Flagler delegation today. And meeting other people from our group at the Flagler delegation today. I know that Allison and JJ were there. Melissa was there. And this new mom whose name is escaping me, all got together. And that's kind of like the idea, is we could meet in our local areas and have more voices echoed back to back. Those delegation meetings have had an impact with people showing up. Alan was on earlier. He's on his way to a country concert. Can you talk, Alan? Can you talk about that? Nah, he's at a concert. So anyways, Alan was just saying that we are being noticed already at delegation meetings. And that's not even the full force of us. We have a tiny fraction of who we are. And so our methods are working. And Berthy was on here last week talking about how we're not inventing the wheel here. This is how this is done. This is how they did it. And one of the things that I really, really loved what she talked about with her mission statement. Love, serve, I put that on the end. Love, share, learn, and serve. Maybe in that order. But we love all people, right? We're all people. So we don't go up, if you approach it when you attack the person, that doesn't usually serve the point, and people stop listening when you go in attack mode. It's just natural defenses.
I'm here, Stephanie. I just
hey, you're back.
figure out how to turn it on.
Right.
Yeah, when you guys get it, when these delegation meetings, and there was one in Bay County that was really good, where Ron, our CEO from Arc of the Bay, brought a couple clients over. They didn't talk during the meeting, but they talked afterwards with the delegation. And what I do is, if there's a clip from it, because they record a lot of these, I send them to legislators and ask them to watch it. So I think that's impactful, and I get responses back from them.
So you need the presentation
listening.
to be able to share those clips.
Yeah, and we've been getting them. I think the one in Putnam County was great, of course, because she spoke from the heart and really got to the point. Stephanie had one a few weeks back, I think it was, and just keep sharing it.
And the nice thing is, because they're recorded, it wasn't just a moment. It can be over and over and over again, and the messages can be seen and heard. And so we know it takes courage. We know it takes time, but we also are hearing it has an impact. It is starting to make a difference. And, again, going back to talking a little bit about Berthy, what an honor it is to have that kind of lessons to be reminded of. And that, each of us, each of our families have our own stories. Each of the individuals have their own stories, and we want to make sure that we do make it personal by making it human and making it real. What else we got, Steph?
Loud car. So he's just going back and forth. Well, the one thing I wanted to do was like flip through some of the stories. It's
Please.
is that a thing we want to do here? I do.
I think so. You got to share your big screen.
Hey, this is Melissa. Hello,
Hey,
everybody.
Melissa.
Hi. Just real quick with those stories, because I just left the Flagler delegation and I printed off like I guess like I think last night it was like around like, I don't know, maybe about like 70-ish of the stories. And then I
Wow.
put them into like packs of 4, like I split up 70. I couldn't do like, 280, but I split it up because I wasn't sure how many delegates were going to be there. But there was 2, Speaker Renner was there. That was my main reason for going. And then Senator Hudson. And I gave the, 2 of the packets to JJ and his mom, and they were the ones that, gave those to the delegates. And then there was another person that was there, didn't speak, but we all kind of sat together. And one of the things that I mean, if there's anybody that is willing to do this, able to do this, those stories are all, I know, Stephanie, you're getting ready to go through them, you said. They are all so different and individualized and special.
them?
And
I was kind of. Can you see them?
I have my
Okay,
phone like
Talking. I'm flipping
okay.
through them. I just
We're
was like,
watching your sailing.
yeah. While you're talking, all right, go ahead.
But they are so they're wonderful. What I would love, if we really want to try to reach a lot of people, is if there was somebody that was willing to enter in all of the legislators' email addresses and their aides and whatever, and every day send a different 1 or 2 stories to every single one. You just put them in a group, and then each day an email gets sent out. The most time-consuming part of it is going to be entering all of those email addresses into, a contact where you can just, put it in, and then it goes to all of those people. And I'm saying everybody from DeSantis on down to, all the senators and the House reps and their aides. And each day in the subject line, it's, Johnny's story or Sarah's story. And they become used to seeing that every day. And because they are so, it makes it really personal, especially with having the pictures of the folks in there, because this is not just a PIN number or a date of birth or a social security number, a Medicaid number. This is a person, and it really does make it so personal. And I would love to see that happen. There are 25 weeks left until the end of the session, which is March 31st. And we already have, a number of those stories. There's a little over 35,000 people on the waiver. I would love to have 1,000 of those stories, more than that, honestly. But right now I don't know where we're hovering around, Stephanie.
Well,
but
Melissa, last
Sir.
week I had one of the folks I work with say, hey, I got this letter from my support coordinator about managed care and about their concerns, and then shared the information about these meetings. And I thought that was a fabulous effort to reach out. And I was wondering, how is that coming along?
So I've been, each like these Zoom meetings and stuff. I send it out to everybody that's on the list. I send it to the owners of the support coordination agencies. But, the support coordinators are they're swamped, they're slammed, and, but this is about getting those families really involved. And I am pulling in, more support coordination agencies and
Thank you.
trying to, get them to get the word out to their folks and stuff. But if we could have that many of those stories and be able to send those out every day. I mean, they're short, they're beautiful. I love them. I love, like, every time I get copied on one, I'm like, this is great. It's another person that I've never met, and it makes it all the more personal. And a lot of these legislators are not going to ever have that real, true personal contact, and it just helps. But I would love to have somebody that would be able to do that. But like I said, the most time consuming thing is entering all those email addresses. That's a lot of email addresses. So anyway, it's just a thought. But the delegation went well, and JJ's speech and his mom's are always, very powerful and meaningful.
Did you hear anybody, did you meet anybody else there at the meeting?
There was another mom there. Her name is Nicole, and
Yes,
I had
of
never.
course.
Yeah, I don't serve Flagler, but she had reached out to. God, I usually put, like, notes in my phone of, how this person kind of crossed my path in a way, but I had told her about this delegation, and initially she wasn't able to, but then she worked it out and showed up, and even and talk, she's she's there. We're sitting together, all of us, and just kind of trying to collaborate, and it's better than not having anybody there. And and the Sarasota County delegation is October 26th, and Hulda McKinnon, and I don't know if Hulda's on here. I can't really see much, but she's been Hulda's been reaching out to a number of people and has a number of families that are going, and not everybody's speaking. Not everybody needs to speak, but if we're there together and people who want to say something, they can. But that'll be nice for us to show up for the Sarasota County one. And there is another parent that's going to put all the stories together in a binder for each of the delegates at the Sarasota one. So I'm hoping that that'll be a real solid, turnout that day. So anyway,
I'm actually
That's-
taking another mom. We're going to the Sarasota one because I feel like that is a good one if you're available, because it's 9 to 1. So there is a little bit of a window if you just show up and are present. I'm coming from Naples, so it'll take me a little bit longer to get there. But I like that the Nicole girl went, because she's never participated in anything like that. And even just the learning experience of how this works is really, really cool. And that's the same thing with this mom. So there's sometimes, like, it's a weird meeting if you've never been to a delegation meeting. I didn't realize I didn't even know that meeting existed. So it'd be really cool if we could we don't have to all speak, but just go and just, like, be there together. And then these stories I don't know if anybody's reading them, but
Oh my God.
they're absolute. I feel like I know. I like, this is my family now, and that's the message we want to send, right? Like, we want them to know that we are family.
Well, again,
So-
Stephanie, thank you for your creative moments here to be able to take these and create you can learn more about what the waiver does by just flipping through these things than anything else. I mean, the pictures are worth 1,000 words, the stories, the ideas. You have people that would be assumed to not be able to contribute that are offering really good ideas and input. And this is just such a different way to do this voices. And, I just continue to encourage people. I see you got 98 of them.
Yeah, and there's
Neat.
some in my inbox. It's been one of those weeks, so I haven't, like, there's there's more to keep up with. And then I was going to save this till the very last second because it's super exciting, but here's like my big, powerful announcement. So one of our new families reached out and she has a master's degree in web development, brand, logo, all of that stuff. And she wants to put our stories, that form that, you know, is kind of like half done because I know a wee little bit, on our website. Announcements. Give us another platform. So if you haven't seen in the chat box at the beginning, I don't know how to do this while I'm staring, so I don't know if you can see it, but there is a link to the form. So it's the My Story form. There's a link to our Facebook page. And that has turned out really cool. Like I said, that woman, Nicole, the mom, Nicole, that's how she found out about the delegation meeting. So it's giving us a way to be hubs with each other and talk and get more connected. And then there's the YouTube page, which is this meeting. So if anybody misses the meeting and they're like, oh, I don't know anything about what you guys are doing, I'm behind. Nobody is behind. We're all right on time, right where we're at. And we have made the meeting available so that we can see it and share it with others. That's the other thing. Our stories can multiply when we just get them out there. And then, is there any other links? Maybe this link? I don't know. I can't see it. So that's it. That's all I got on that.
Well, that's not just all you've got. What you really have got is an amazing display of what a cool way for a family to be able to share a story. And think about things like DD Day in the Capitol. And these things are all over the place. So the other thing we're looking for is a printer. Someone that wants to produce some of these things in some volume so that when it comes time at the Capitol, we can spread these things far and wide, these flyers, and create those voices. So we're looking for somebody that can do data, somebody that can do data and mail merge type of things so we can reach these things out. Looking for any kind of printers or producer, somebody that can help produce this stuff, so we can create, whether it be, you know, postage size cards or the other things, that there may be some other ways to be able to target positively your legislature with these stories. And so, you know, as you've seen from the very beginning, we're kind of making it up as we go. We, you know, the amount of funding going into this is, we have a Zoom account. Yay. And that's very cool, because the freedom to be able to continue to share and see these stories and see the impacts. I mean, it's pretty darn exciting when you think about it, to have these faces, to have these stories, to say it's not just me. I'm just not a lone wolf out there crying in the woods. There's a lot of needs. There's a lot of stories. And when you've been able to share this, post this on your social media pages, and be able to continue to kind of create that wave of awareness, of urgency, of importance, of value, we can make a difference. And that's what we got to keep doing. So it's amazing.
Is there anybody on here right be able to, you know, enter all the legislators' email addresses and stuff like that, and be able to just send 2 of those stories out, you know, each day, every day?
I have a volunteer. Liz,
Hello.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm
Who's
gonna
Liz?
yes,
Hi, Liz.
hi. I'm looking to take on more responsibility within things, so this seems like a reasonable starting point without overdoing things. But yes,
She
absolutely.
can do it in her sleep. So yeah, that's all good.
Proximity to everything. That's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hooray.
Wonderful.
And so again,
right.
commercial printers and kind of, I know that there's been some really good work HUD has been working on too, around being able to create messaging, marketing, flyers, things like that too. And so I kind of like to think about a day in our shoes. Some of those kind of ideas are pretty good. But the legislative session is coming upon us. We're still got some opportunities locally to be able to do things. the more this happens, the more people start to listen, because this isn't 5 people, this isn't 10 people, it's well over 100 of these already done stories.
But it's not 55,000. And
Not
there
yet.
are more of us that need to, if whatever your story is, it doesn't matter. Let's just share it. And, some of our group members feel like, I'm a grandma, I'm a friend, I'm not like the mom, the dad, the person, that you still have a story and a connection with this. And if we could just build that out, because it's not just the individual that's affected. It's not just the parent. It's not just the sibling. It's not just the grandmother. It's not just the teacher. It's not just the support coordinator. It's not just you could go down this list. It is a much bigger number than 55,000 that will be positively affected when there's positive impact, and is negatively affected when there's challenges like we're facing right now. So I want to make sure that we emphasize that with people we're sharing this to. There's no method to this. It's your story. And I've had a couple of parents just say, I have so much story, I don't even know which part to talk about. And that is something that we can walk through. If you're nervous about that, so that's totally what family is for. So want everybody, including Tom, to fill out their story and get that word out there so that it can grow, and tell your people. And is there any to share? Because we're at that sharing time. Any ideas or questions? I like participation. Anybody?
I guess part of the participation is, why are you on this call? Why is this important to you? We need to understand what, it's 6 o'clock, 6:20 or 6:42 on a Friday evening, and you're on this call. Why? Tell me. Because, we appreciate you being here, but we'd love to know why. Anybody can start, and it'll just start making noise. Anybody?
I'll say.
Go ahead.
So I am here because there clearly needs to be change, and I couldn't have done that meeting all by myself last Friday without this group. And knowing that even though you weren't physically behind me, you were mentally behind me and cheering me on. And that's literally the only reason I was able to get through that. So thank you guys for being there. And I'm hoping that I know I'm planning on going to Tallahassee in February for actually 2 days, for Autism Day and DD Day. I'm also going in January because, oh my gosh, sorry, my husband just got home and my dogs are going nuts. But I'm going in January because Bobby's aide invited me to the Rural Counties Day. So, and there's a legislative networking reception the night before the Rural Counties Day. So I've already registered for that, and I figured that'll hopefully get me in front of a whole lot of legislatures. So
what it does, and it's really important that the resources in a rural community are completely, or lack of in the rural communities, is a tough challenge. And it's really important that folks, like you that are out there can be able to explain that, Amanda. And we thank you for doing that, because that's what happens. Once you start to gain a little bit of comfort and you have been reasonable in the way you've approached this, they start to say, well, you have a voice, And you're doing a good job at it. So bravo. Anybody else want to share?
Hello.
Hey there.
Eh, um, hello.
Hello.
Okay, I didn't know if I was on mute. I want to say to Amanda that she was the first link that I put. I distributed all the links up to now of moms that have spoke up. And I sent it to about 300 parents because the ATT and the villas of where my son is helped me out to distribute that. And the first one was the one of Amanda because I really like that. It was so natural. It was so mom. So from here to Hollywood, Amanda. The other thing, Melissa and Ulda are in this meeting now. Besides Melissa and Ulda, anyone else that is going to the one in Sarasota?
Stephanie.
Me and my
Ah.
friend Holly. She's not on the call, but she's been following the Facebook.
Okay. So
and,
that then we, at least I will share with with you, Melissa and Ulda, what I'm going to say so that we don't be repeating ourselves. You understand what I am saying? That if one can say something and the other can say something, so to make sure that between the 4 or 5 that we are there or the 10 that we are there, we cover all that what we want to.
Maybe you can
Well,
schedule like a pre-meeting Zoom call amongst you all and kind of set up an agenda. You know, when you have 3 minutes, but the next person has 3 minutes, the next person has 3 minutes, now you got 12-minute presentation. And if you're all saying a different thing, exactly what you're talking about. So there's a bit of a delegation forming here to do that. So a little bit of pre-delegation communication may be helpful, even if it's just an email or, hey, I wanted to talk about this, I wanted to talk about that, because as you mentioned about Amanda, it was the genuineness of her story. It was the honesty of her story. So having people talk about what they're not comfortable about doesn't come off very well.
And remember, if you cry, they might stop the clock.
We
Gotta
have
play
to
the card.
practice
Gotta
a
play the
little
card,
bit
baby.
I got 7 minutes instead of 3. So
How many of those were you sobbing?
All right. And the last point that I wanted, to bring up is that on Saturday, look at me. This Tuesday, I have with Senator Gruters, and I finish my local legislators meetings. So
How they go?
I have to say that so really good that I am impressed, but it is, I have my reservations because last year I got so much yes to fund the program and so much no to manage care. And then it went all the way different than what I got the feedback of every single one of them. And I was not the only one because another parent that I know, to him happened exactly the same. Everybody, yes, 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 this has to be a priority to fund this program. No, managed care. No, I am a mom, just like you. No, I don't want managed care. No, managed care, no. And then the results were totally the opposite, so that I am not celebrating nothing until March 2024.
You know, one of the things that I think is important in what you're just bringing up is managed care has already been here in the statewide Medicaid managed care, long-term care waiver, where a significant number of folks that have been on the wait list have diverted to that Medicaid program. So I think one of the things that we maybe need to start talking about is what kind of studies are being done about that existing program before we would expand it. Because my experience has been a significant number of people are really struggling to actually get the amount of services that were identified in the care plan actually delivered. And so instead, I think if we just go, no, managed care, but I'll say, I've got big reservations about managed care. I think we should take a look at the existing statewide Medicaid managed care, long-term care waiver, and let's get some data. And that way it doesn't become emotional, it becomes more the ability for the legislator to do an analysis on programs and get numbers is an important way to go from an observation to a real hard facts. So I'm really glad that you're there. What else did you get out of that meeting?
No, I was to before I forget, Tom, I was to mention that I can send to Stephanie for her distribution or to Melissa. I have a link that has all the information that I think anyone can ask or need to make the case pro managed care or to make the case con managed care, against managed care, because this is like data and and numbers and everything can go both ways. Just like I was saying with these stories can make the case for, yes, we need to fund this program, or can make the case for definitely we have to go to managed care. So I will send that link because it has what states are in managed care, what states are not, waiting
And that's the
list.
kind of information that legislative aides really need when they're doing analysis. They need data, they need studies, they need reports, they need information, and being a conduit to that, because you're focusing on it too, is important.
I think since we only have a few minutes, speaking of data, that social service estimating conference. Tom, can you tell us a little bit, like the snap view, the way I really like that complicated word, the combination of words, social service estimating conference, is a lot of the times people say the waiver needs to be funded. And that is true. That is a lot of the issues we're facing, is just the lack of supports. We can't really do anything when we don't have the right resources, and we all understand that very well. The waiver doesn't have the right financial resources, but just saying fund the waiver is an overwhelming thing to a legislator who is constantly hearing that. And what I really like about the social service estimating conference is that's the how. That's that data piece. If you had the data that explains the needs to sustain the waiver, things like cost of living increases, that's a real reality. That would be documented. So when you're, I know I asked you to say something about it and then I kept going, but that when you're talking about funding the waiver, that is a wonderful tool for our legislators to fund the waiver. And that's something that we've heard over and over from families. Okay, now your turn.
And so again, just think about it. We are trying to educate and engage our legislators in understanding the needs of their constituent, while also helping them understand that the current model of funding for APD is a big part of the problem. And that that governmentally, the processes of the Social Services Estimating Conference takes some of the pressure off of a legislator to figure out what is needed and get some real hard data and guidance on that. So it also gives you a level up when they're going, whoa, I'm either not aware of that, or I'm aware now that you're aware of that. That's, wow, that's more than just sitting there complaining. So we're really trying hard to say, structurally, when you don't have the estimating conference, you're not functioning like a typical Medicaid program, and you've spent too much in the programs and there's some backlash from that. It's time to get real. But it kind of comes down to one real question. Do you think that this is something the state should be doing? Now, we don't necessarily say it point blank, right? But at the end of the day, that's kind of what we're asking our legislators.
So
We
Tom,
think this is an important thing that should be done. Yes.
this is Melissa again. Just so you guys are aware, at the last 3 delegations that I've done, my first thing is asking that they support legislation to have the Agency for Persons with Disabilities in that social services estimating conference. The second thing is I do tell them a little bit about managed care and the fact that there is a lawsuit, a decision that was just rendered this summer about the medically fragile, developmentally disabled children in nursing homes put there by the managed care companies that Florida has contracted to. So I'm also telling the delegates that Florida does not have a good history of enforcing its managed care contracts. And, you know, we don't need another one for developmentally disabled folks when they just got this lawsuit kind of almost sort of settled. And then my third thing is about the caseloads for support coordination. But one of the things that for every family member that is on this call, the one thing that you have with the waiver program that you do not have and will never have with managed care is you have options. You can start off, and I told them this today, that the first thing that our folks have with this program is you have the availability, or I mean the option to hire and fire your providers, and starting with your support coordinator. You interview your support coordinators and then you pick one that you like. Then after that, your support coordinator helps you with finding providers and interviewing providers. And you know what? There's not a great amount of providers to choose from, I don't think, as a coordinator, but there are still some great providers, and we can develop providers to come on the waiver. So there is that. But the one thing that you have is this whole sense of control over what services you're getting and who's providing them. And you have an independent advocate in your support coordinator, or at least you're supposed to. That is our job. We work for the clients. We work for the folks of the program. We are not paid by a managed care company, and we don't work for APD either. We work for the client and their family. That's the difference. You will never get that level of choice, control, whatever it is you want to call it, under managed care. And the thing that I have a problem with as a business owner is, and you guys should also have an issue with this too, that they have an incentive, and it's called an achieved savings rebate. And with the pilot program in particular, it is 7.5%. So if that managed care company is somehow able to manage to save, $10 million, well, they get 7.5% of that. And now if they save 20 million, they also get 7.5 of that. It's higher. It's in their best interest to deny, to not put services in place. And so that is an issue that you guys should have with managed care. And I definitely have it, because no provider on the waiver program has ever been given 7.5% of any money that we've been able to save on somebody's budget, because maybe we got a community support in place instead of tapping into waiver funding. So, there's things like that are going on with this managed care stuff that's not okay. But anyway, the options, the choice, the hiring, the firing, that is within your control. And I just wanted to tell you guys that. Thank you.
So
Melissa, thanks for going to all those delegation meetings. Tom, we are at the 6:59 hour. We did it, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on this meeting. Next Friday, we're going to do it at 2 p.m. And we really want you to tell your friends. Talk to everybody you know about it.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.